Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to the first episode of the webinar series organized by the Forefront ED, titled Suppliers of the Semiconductor Industry. I am Ana Paula Corona. I am Director of Investment Promotion for the Secretariat of Economy and Innovation for the State of Baja California, and I will be your host during this event. This event will be the perfect platform for panelists and attendees to engage in discussion of the relevance and potential for the semiconductor industry in the binational megaregion of the Forefront ED, encompassing Arizona, Baja California, California, and Sonora. Hola, bienvenidos a todos. Bienvenidos al primer episodio de la serie de webinars organizados por Forefront ED, titulado Proveedores de la Industria de Semiconductores. Mi nombre es Ana Paula Corona, soy director de promoción de inversión en la Secretaría de Economía e Innovación del Estado de Baja California y seré su moderador durante este evento. Este evento será una plataforma para que los panelistas y los asistentes hablen sobre la relevancia y el potencial que tiene la industria de los semiconductores en la mega región binacional del Forefront ED, que abarca los estados de Arizona, California, Baja California, y Sonora. Now, I would like to describe the format of this panel. Each of the panelists will speak in their preferred language, but simultaneous translation services will be available throughout the whole panel. You just have to click the lower part of the screen in the button that says Interpretation, and then just select the language of your preference. Cada panelista dirigirá su mensaje en el idioma de su preferencia. Sin embargo, habrá la opción y el servicio de la traducción simultánea. Solo tienen que presionar la parte inferior de la pantalla en el botón que dice Interpretation y luego seleccionar el idioma de su preferencia. After that, we will have a Q&A session that will be open to the public. So please feel free to put your questions in the Q&A section. Después de las presentaciones, tendremos una sección de preguntas y respuestas que estará abierta para el público. Entonces, les pedimos que por favor depositen sus preguntas en la sección de preguntas y respuestas. Now, in order to kick off the event, we just give a brief introduction on one of the first panelists, Fernando Garcia. Fernando Garcia is the Senior Vice President of Business Development and Team Lead at the Arizona Commerce Authority. He has a portfolio of projects within the semiconductor, automotive, battery, and advanced manufacturing industries. Through his tenure at the Arizona Commerce Authority, he has led projects on behalf of the CEO, Sandra Watson, attracting over 5,800 new jobs and a capital investment of over $1.8 billion US. He has a focus to grow and strengthen Arizona's economy through a three-pronged approach: to attract, to expand, and to create. To attract out-of-state companies into Arizona to establish operations, to expand the existing operation of companies in Arizona, and to work with entrepreneurs to create new businesses in Arizona in targeted industries. Fernando believes that a collaborative approach with the key stakeholders in the state of Arizona has been essential to succeeding in his field and contributing to elevating the quality of the people living in Arizona. Take it away, Fernando.
Awesome. Thank you, Ana. Hello, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you to Forefront, the city of Yuma, Yuma County, and everybody that put this great event together. It's a pleasure to be here. Also, as a native of San Luis, Arizona, it's great to be part of this webinar and this panel with Rudy, Andrade, and Ana to talk a little bit more about suppliers in the semiconductor industry. So again, my name is Fernando Garcia, Senior Vice President of Business Development. I have the great pleasure and opportunity to lead part of the domestic team here at the Arizona Commerce Authority on behalf of Sandra Watson. So right now I'm going to cover a couple of slides. I believe right now the set is getting it together, but towards the end, we're going to have some time to answer some questions that you might have. Awesome. So again, Fernando Garcia, throughout the last couple of years, I've had the opportunity to work in the semiconductor industry. This industry is definitely a technical sector that requires great collaboration throughout the entire state to include communities, counties, colleges, community colleges, and university partners as well. We really can't continue to attract projects without having a collaborative effort. So with that said, I'll go on to my next slide, which is going to talk a little bit more of who we are as the state's Arizona Commerce Authority and what we're going to continue to do to ensure that we can attract quality projects to create quality jobs for all Arizonans. The Arizona Commerce Authority serves as the entity that develops all incentives for any company that's looking to expand here into the states. We are 100% funded by the state of Arizona. We have no membership. Our membership is essentially the citizens of this great state. As the ACA, we serve as the lead site selection entity. And again, we work very closely with GYDC, GPEC, Econa, Sun Corridor. And again, it's crucial for us to continue to work very closely with our utilities and educational partners. Something that I'll be talking about quite a bit throughout this webinar is the importance of working closely with our educational partners as we continue to work with complex projects that have a requirement of high employment. Education and that labor pool continues to be the #1 priority for a lot of these projects. The ACA is also responsible for bringing new jobs, new capital investment, that are looking into establishing operations here in the States. But we also have a global footprint. Just in March, we had the opportunity of opening 2 new offices that are ACA-led in Taiwan and South Korea, again, to focus on those key sectors of semiconductors, automotive, battery, and advanced manufacturing in general. The ACA also has offices in Europe. Our main office out there is based in Frankfurt, Germany. We have another office in Tel Aviv, and we have 3 offices in Mexico that serve as great trade partners. We have an office in Chihuahua, Guanajuato, and Mexico City. Again, throughout the last couple of years, we've not only been a state that has been very competitive throughout the nation, but also globally. Our goal continues to be a global hub for advanced manufacturing, and certainly in the semiconductor industry, we're going to continue to strive for that goal and get to that great goal that we have. We've had the amazing stable leadership of Sandra Watson since Arizona Commerce Authority commenced in 2011, and we're very grateful to have her continue to be as a great leader for our organization and our states. Next slide, please. The ACA serves as an Arizona partner for a lot of the semiconductor companies that we work with. As I mentioned, we work on workforce coordination. We work very closely with our utility partners, and that's very important because, as I mentioned, a lot of these projects are very complex and have high requirements in power, water, wastewater, and then other requirements as well that are related to workforce. Here are a couple of the other services that we provide. Again, this is for reference, and these slides are going to be available for everybody as well. Next slide. Semiconductor mega investment. Throughout the last couple of years, the state of Arizona has been able to secure over $60 billion in capital investment just specific to the semiconductor industry. In December, TSMC announced a $40 billion CapEx here in Northern Phoenix to continue to expand their fabs out here in the state of Arizona. We had the great opportunity of having President Biden in December 6th at TSMC's tooling ceremony. That was definitely a great accomplishment, and it was a huge honor and privilege to have President Biden be able to be part of that tooling ceremony with great key leaders in the semiconductor industry. Since 2022, the momentum has continued. The state has been able to secure over 21 new semiconductor supply chain projects, which are going to be key for the success of TSMC, Intel, and the rest of the robust ecosystem that we have throughout the states. Next slide. We're showing this map to provide a picture in regards to where do we see the most activity in the semiconductor industry. For decades, the Phoenix metro area has been considered as a great cluster for a lot of the suppliers in the semiconductor industry. You know, companies like Motorola, companies like Intel, Microchip, and quite a few others have been, you know, legacy projects that have been in the state for decades that have continued that momentum of supply chain throughout the entire states. As we can see, Tucson has continued to grow that cluster. And now most recently, we've seen plenty of activity in the Yuma County area, but also the central Arizona area. Right now, we see great opportunities for a lot of the suppliers looking into these two regions that I mentioned, Yuma and central Arizona, again, because of the robust workforce that's right there, and also that hardworking labor. As somebody from San Luis, Arizona, I've seen the great work ethic that a lot of the citizens of Yuma County have had, whether it's in agriculture, whether it's manufacturing and aerospace and defense, and those are definitely great assets, great skills that have a great transferred opportunities into the semiconductor industry as well. Next slide. We consider ourselves as the best state for business, and that has been done a lot because of the pro-business environment that we've had throughout the states. A lot of our incentives are statutory. What does that mean? It means that we focus on essentially three main things: the real estate requirements for a project, the employment needs, and also the CapEx. But truly our main focus continues to be to have high quality jobs into the state of Arizona. So if companies can bring that to the states, there's incentives behind that I'll share a little bit more about throughout the presentation. Next slide, please. From 2010 to 2020, the state of Arizona was ranked #1 in economic performance. Again, we've been able to receive quite a few awards from area development, as we can see at the bottom of the slides. Some awards from the Site Selection magazine as deeming the state of Arizona as the most competitive state in the mountain region. And again, another award for Project of the Year for area development. We've also been ranked the best state for business on a ranking of #4, and we continue to strive for that #1 spot. Again, with the collaborative efforts with all the stakeholders throughout the state, we truly believe that we can get there. Next slide. Something that I like to mention, and that's going to continue to be key as we continue to work with some of these mega projects throughout the state, is that we can't have a growing workforce with a growing population. Just from 2015 to 2020, our population has grown over 500,000. That is a great asset in regards to telling a story on how companies can have a sustainable workforce that's going to make them successful as they continue to currently operate in the state, but as they look into the future as well. Here we have a couple of rankings, the Phoenix Metro being deemed as #1 in net migration, and also the 5th largest city in the US as well, and also #3 as the fastest growing state. Again, that's a key factor in regards to that growing workforce. Next slide. We've seen the 3rd highest job growth in the state of Arizona compared in the nation, 4th highest growth in educational attainment. Again, working with our community colleges and our university partners has been key. The work that AWC has done, working closely with Ritika and the president of AWC, has been key for us to continue to be successful in the many sectors that Yuma County has a focus. Next slide. Explosive job growth. As I mentioned, some of the stats we've seen around over 500,000 jobs added into the state's economy, 21,000 new private sector businesses into the state since 2015. Again, that's to the pro-business environment that the state has. Just specific to manufacturing, which is what we're talking about today related to the semiconductor industry, we've been ranked #3 just for 2022. And at the bottom of the screen, we see a couple of the key players that have announced recently, to include TSMC, Electromechanica, Virgin Galactic for the aerospace and defense, Intel with their $20 billion CapEx expansion, and Chandler, Lucid Motors, and also Nikola Motors, which is in Coolidge, Arizona. Next slide. Again, going back to world-class education, Arizona State University has continued to be a great asset along with the University of Arizona and AU, but a key number that we like to use is that engineering program at ASU. Their program has grown over 160% in just a decade. Initially, that program had around 7,000 engineers. Now it's over 30,000 students in one campus at Arizona State University. If we think of a four-year college in the East Coast, some colleges don't even have that population. Again, a key factor into ensuring that projects in the advanced manufacturing sectors can be successful. Next slide. Next slide. So now, next slide, please. So now talking about a little bit more about the actual semiconductor sector and the suppliers that we get to work with. This is a very short list on some of the successes that we've seen and some of the companies that continue to be very active. And we can see a couple of different, sectors within the semiconductor industry to include integrated device manufacturers, fabless companies, equipment suppliers, dedicated foundries, OSAT companies, silicon and other supplies, third-party distributors, and also some material suppliers as well, which is something that we're continuing to see a little bit more in the Yuma County area, along with Central Arizona, key areas for those two sectors. A couple of companies that have recently announced include LCY, Lindy, Semco, Sumitomo, Canto PPC, CCP, Air Liquide, Air Gas, and a couple of other ones that we see on this screen. Next slide. Semiconductor leadership. Just last year, there was a historic funding from the state of Arizona to invest over $100 million in this fast-growing semiconductor industry. This was monies allocated to ensure that we can continue to grow the industry and that we have the infrastructure in workforce to ensure that we can supply the high employment counts that a lot of these companies require. Next slide. It's great for the state of Arizona to say great things about ourselves. Yes, we're definitely biased, but it's great to see these national news. We can see a couple of examples from CNBC, Fox Business, Bloomberg, Forbes, and CNBC, and talking about the great investment that has continued to happen here in the state of Arizona, and also leading and attracting a lot of their suppliers. Right now, the state of Arizona leads the nation in regards to attracting projects in the semiconductor industry. Next slide. In the last couple of years, the ACA has taken the lead at a national level in regards to developing the National Semiconductor Economic Roadmap. This was a collaborative effort in between our educational partners to develop the workforce that's required for the industry, working closely with industry to identify the supply chain that's required for these businesses to be successful, infrastructure in general as it comes to physical assets for production and research, and also that innovative mindset that the state of Arizona has continued to have for decades. And again, it's creating that access for entrepreneurs to invest capital and commercial infrastructure into the states. Next slide, please. I talked about our pro-business environment. These have been a couple of the accomplishments that have been established over the last year. Now the state of Arizona has a 2.5% flat income tax, which is one of the lowest flat tax in the US. We have no franchise tax, no business inventory tax, estate tax, and gross receipts tax as well. Again, making us a very competitive and pro-business environment to ensure that, that money that's saved is invested in their workforce. It's invested in expanding their businesses. Next slide. Here we have a couple of the programs that the state of Arizona has in regards to benefits for a lot of the advanced manufacturing companies that we have. At the beginning of the presentation, I mentioned that we focus on three main areas: the real estate requirements for a company, we focus on their employment, we focus on their capital investment, and again, we focus on those quality jobs, and that's how the eligibility requirements are established for some of the programs that we see here. Quality facilities, quality jobs, those are job-induced incentives that are available for clients And then we have some other ones that are focused on real and property taxes for the companies that we work with. So again, we focused on attracting great businesses into the state. We continue to focus on a pro-business environment, but I think what's continued to make the state a successful state in regards to attracting projects into the state of Arizona has been that collaborative effort, working closely with GYDC, AWC, Yuma County, City of Yuma, City of San Luis, and the rest of the communities throughout the region has continued to be at the forefront and of highest priority for the state to ensure that we can attract quality jobs into this forefronted region. So thank you again. I'm going to hand it back to Ana for our next presenter, Rudy Andrade. Definitely look forward to working with your team and answering some questions at the end of this next presentation. Thank you.
Our next panelist, Rudy Andrade. Rodolfo Rudy Andrade has served as the Investment Undersecretary for the Secretariat of Economy and Innovation of Baja California since November 2021. He earned a master's degree in marketing from CETIS Universidad, and he graduated from the Institute of Economic Development at the University of Oklahoma. He specializes in small-medium enterprises from ISADE in Barcelona, Spain, and the Instituto Tecnológico Autónomo de México in Mexico City. He is also the creator of the Lean MX methodology for businesses and the author of the book Emprende en México for entrepreneurship in Mexico. He has 28 years of experience in entrepreneurship, economic development, and international promotion, attracting more than $1,500 million in investment and over 20,000 jobs throughout his career. He has been directly involved in the soft landing and the startup of more than 60 companies in the aerospace, automotive, medical, tourism, and services in Baja California, from USA, Asia, and Europe. Rudy, the floor is all yours.
Hi, Ana, thank you. And thank you, Nacer and Fernando, Adriana. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for everybody that's connected. It's a pleasure to be here. We have great ties with Arizona. We share the same heat, the same weather, and we know we're going to be working a lot in the near future with all this new wave of investment regarding the semiconductor industry. Our presentation is going to be straightforward on the semiconductor industry. And if we can start, please, Ana. I'll give you a little bit of highlights regarding our state. Baja California is one of the most resilient economies. We were one of the less affected in the pandemic due to the diversification of our economy and our economic sectors. We are the most stable economy in Mexico. And for 3 consecutive years, we have been ranked as the state with the best employment quality in Mexico. And that's what we aim to do as economic development. The office is not just bring jobs, but bring better jobs to our region. Foreign direct investment is quite high. We're always ranking among the top 3, top 4 states in Mexico. And we have been specializing in manufacturing sectors, aerospace industries, electronic components, and life science. We are right now, our vision for the state is to have an evolution from a cost-effective manufacturing center to a value center. And that takes a lot of work and a lot of development regarding talent, and obviously a lot of international cooperation with our partners such as Arizona. Next one, please. Focusing on the semiconductor industry, we are fortunate enough in Baja California to have semiconductor presence for over 50 years. And this is mainly focused in the process of advanced packaging and testing and engineering. So please, next one, please. The two main companies that we have in the state are Skyworks in Mexicali and Infineon in Tijuana. Both are advanced packaging companies and as well as testing facilities. And they work together with the semiconductor hub in California as well as Arizona. Next one, please. Skyworks has been in Baja California and in Mexicali for over 52 years right now, having over 6,000 employees. And what they do is they basically are focusing on the cell phone and communication sector, doing advanced packaging for different high-end companies such as Apple. Next one, please. A little bit of a picture of Skyworks that we have. They've been growing. You see the bridge there. It crosses one of the main arteries in the city, and they have plants on both sides, and they keep on growing. So it's and we have developed a great relationship as a state with Skyworks, and with this new geopolitical and geoeconomic semiconductor strategy, Skyworks is one of the key players, and they have been working together with our state government as well as the federal government to grow in different areas and to expand. Next one, please. Infineon is a German company. They specialize in the automotive sector as well as power sensor markets. And they're right now around 1,500 employees, but they're expanding to a bigger facility, and they're going to be growing a lot more in the advanced packaging area. So next one, please. So you can see the factory, Infineon factory in Tijuana. Next one. But what has happened with these two companies with over 50 years that they have been involved in the region? Well, one of the main things is that we have developed what we call a talent map for the semiconductor industry. And this is through 30 to 40 years of developing a relationship with the different levels of either technical schools, as well as bachelor degrees, as well as graduate degrees. So through the years, we have formed professionals in the electronic and semiconductor industry in Baja. Next one, please. This is what we call a talent map, and this is specifically for Skyworks. And what we do is we work with the different education systems that are involved in the different processes that Skyworks need, or the advanced packaging semiconductor industry needs. So what we found is now that there's a growth in this industry, there's great interest, first of all, to establish operations that complement operations such as the ones that are in Arizona, here in our state, due to the fact that we do have this talent pool already developed. So one of the key issues, besides obviously infrastructure, is talent. And in Baja California, we have developed talent specifically for the semiconductor industry. Next one, please. And there's some examples. We have a semiconductor laboratory in our state university, which is the UABC. Next one, please. As well as different linkage programs through the same laboratory with industry. So we have internships as well as sabbaticals for PhD students. Adelante. Next one. Also, the laboratories are encouraged to generate patents and register. Next one, please. And as well, inside Skyworks, there is a development and innovation center for semiconductors. So this community approach towards semiconductors can only be developed through having education facilities and education systems that work directly with companies and that are doing that for over 50 years, as I mentioned. Next one, please. And the other part is the STEM programs. In Baja California, we focus on IT, engineering, and electronic development. Next one, please. The second part of what's needed, obviously, for semiconductor development is infrastructure. Next one. Water. In the case of Baja California, we have the main source of water, be it the Colorado River. Sustainable energy, as other parts of California, as well as Arizona, we have geothermal plants in Mexicali, as well as solar and wind farms. And obviously we do have, Mexicali was the first city that had natural gas in Mexico. Next one. And I want to focus on this due to the fact that energy is always something that is a key element, and also clean energy. So in our state, we have several projects being built, cogeneration plants, but focusing on a big solar factory that is in the works right now in Puerto Peñasco. That factory is going to generate over 1,000 megawatts in their final stage. 800 of those megawatts will be for Baja California, will be connected to the grid. So that's a very interesting project, specifically because semiconductor industry, as everybody knows, aims towards having sustainable energy as their main source. Next one, please. Also, Baja California has over 100 industrial parks and zones, very similar and to the same level as industrial parks and industrial infrastructure as you may find in Arizona or California. Next one, please. But one of the main items that I want to focus on is market opportunities for the semiconductor industry. And this is something that has been very attractive for companies that obviously have a final market in different sectors. Next one. So one of the main attractions is where we are located. And I'm talking we regarding Arizona, California, and Baja California, is that we're sitting in a big, huge market. We're a mega region of over 50 million people, including California, Arizona, and Baja California. We are part, as a region, of the 5th or 4th biggest economy in the world. And that is something extremely attractive for every other part of the world to focus on this specific market. Next one. To give you an idea of the different legacy sectors that we have been developing in the state, one is the aerospace sector. We are by far the largest, we have the largest concentration of aerospace companies in Mexico, with over 94 companies, around 21% of the companies worldwide, nationwide. Next one, please. It's a little picture of a plane. So everything that's labeled there is basically what it's done in Baja California. Next one, please. And just to give you a couple of names that are, in fact, have established an operation here in the state. Out of the top 15 companies regarding aerospace, we have 14 of them. Next one, please. The automotive sector is also important for us in Baja California. Mainly, we don't have a lot of complete assembly manufacturing facilities, but we do have a big supply for them. We do have 3 auto assemblers. One is Kenworth in Mexicali, which is part of the Packer Group. We built a full truck here. Toyota and Hyundai. Toyota does the Tacoma truck between Tecate and Tijuana. And one of the things that's very important is that that's a huge market for the semiconductor industry. Next one, please. You can see the main companies that are located in Baja. Next one, please. Also, and I want to emphasize here, life sciences is huge in Baja California. By far, the region is the biggest region in America. Over $200 billion in commerce is done between the Southwest US and Baja California. Over 75 companies are established regarding medical devices, biotech, and pharma in the state. Next one, please. You can see some of the main names of the companies that are established in Baja California, which also, regarding medical devices, is a huge market for the semiconductor industry. Next one, please. Electronics, obviously, together with semiconductors. The electronic, by far, we have the largest concentration of electronic manufacturers in America. Over 120,000 jobs derived from our electronic companies here in the state. Next one. And you can see some of the names of the big corporate players in the electronic sector. And well, this is basically our presentation, very focused on what we do have in semiconductors. What I would like to emphasize is talent and market. And I would love to continue a conversation with Francisco and Adriana to see, and obviously Nacer, to see the different opportunities that both regions may have regarding markets and talent development. Thank you very much to all.
Thank you so much, Rudy. And now on to our Q&A session. The questions are directed to all panelists. However, unless they are directed to a particular panelist, whoever wants to answer can do so. And we already have a few questions that I'm going to read out. Many semiconductor suppliers seem to be based offshore. How should communities position themselves to be better, compete, attract these essential contributors to semiconductor manufacturers?
Well, thank you, Ana. I can take this one first. I think one of the key components, the key areas that a lot of the companies continue to focus on is workforce and ensuring that they have a sustainable workforce and educational pipeline for them to be able to be successful, not only for their current demands, but also for their future growth. So I think ensuring that communities are working very closely with, community colleges, their university partners, but also the trades at the high school level is going to continue to be an important aspect to ensure that, communities can attract these types of projects. The other area that I think will be very important is infrastructure. So communities investing in their sites to ensure that they have the capabilities to be able to provide the water, wastewater, natural gas, power, and any additional high requirements that the companies can have. And again, I always talk about that collaborative effort, but that communication in between the different key stakeholders at the community level, at the state level, and even at the federal level is going to continue to be a great asset, because truly not a lot of states function that way. So I think that's very unique to Baja California, Sonora, and Arizona in the way that we function and in the way that we provide customized solutions to very complex projects.
Yeah, I would add that we were recently in Washington in a trilateral conference regarding the semiconductor industry. And one of the main things is talent, as well as Francisco addressed that. And also understand in this phase, companies can't wait a lot. I mean, the truth is they need to move fast. And what we cannot, we cannot invent things that we don't have. So we have to determine now what our talent map is and what processes realistically can be set up in Mexico and what processes will be set up in the States. So we understand that we have certain processes that have more possibilities to establish in Baja California or in other parts of Mexico. But one of the main things is obviously infrastructure, but also talent. And if you don't have that already set up, so we have to be realistic. We have to do a very, and in this case, Arizona and Baja California, we need to work each other with the strengths that we have, so that we focus precisely on what is it that we can offer and what we can complement each other with, because it's a complementary market.
Okay, so for our next question is, what evidence are we seeing of any semiconductor supplier companies reshoring to the US and Mexico?
what is what? Can you repeat that?
Yeah. What evidence are we seeing of any semiconductor supplier companies reshoring to the US and Mexico?
Well, there's a lot of companies basically just, I mean, the evidence is the map that Francisco just showed you. I mean, it's a map with a lot of companies already there, and I'm sure you have a pipeline of others to come. So all of the basically the states that in Mexico, there's only 3 states that have semiconductor presence. There's Jalisco with Intel, there's Aguascalientes with Texas Instruments, and it's Baja California with Infineon and Skyworks. We have been working with companies regarding advanced packaging, because that's what we do have already set up, as well as engineering and testing. And that's the area we're focusing at in the different value chain of the semiconductor industry. So, and I'm sure that having big fabs in Arizona like Intel and Semiconductor obviously generates a huge supply pool for the region. So I'm very sure that you have different suppliers already lined up to supply the different 3 big fabs that you have in the Phoenix area.
Yeah, I definitely echo what Rudy mentioned. TSMC's and Intel's historic investment has definitely encouraged a lot of suppliers from Southeast Asia, also Europe, to locate into the state of Arizona. Since 2022, we've had over 21 projects that have announced in the state of Arizona, and we have quite a few others that are right now considering the state, and a couple of them that we hope to hopefully announce in the next couple of months. There's definitely lots of momentum and lots of interest into the state to set up operations or also expand. We've had decades of very successful companies in supply chain for the semiconductor industry that are now looking to expand because of the high demand that a lot of the semiconductor OEMs have, like TSMC, Intel, Microchip, and a couple of other ones as well.
Okay, so we have a question from Moises Pimentel. It says, what is the starting point to begin engaging high schools and community college to begin building academic programs to meet the talent needs of this industry in our area? Also, how was the scaling achieved of these academic programs for Baja California?
Well, first of all, I've been calling Fernando Francisco.
No worries.
I thought I read that it was Fernando. But anyways, I think it starts basically with linkage and understanding. We cannot invent as government what the companies are going to need. So you have to basically start with what you have as a basis, but understanding what the company needs. So let's say we are doing this right now as we speak with other sectors as a state. So what we call this is talent tables or talent committees, and we have the leaders of 3 or 4 sectors. Let's say it's the semiconductor industry. We just did a new advanced electronic and semiconductor certification to have an advanced group of professionals educated, and you do it communicating. And what we've seen that is the different actions that come out of this communication is that either you already have the curricula and you have to change it. Maybe you have a specific software you're using to train people inside the university or the technical school, but it may be outdated. Okay, so you have to update that and you have to train the teacher. The other thing is that schools also need equipment to train students. So having the communication between industry and schools makes it easier for the industry to either lend a specific equipment or give it to the school so they can train. So that's immediate type of solutions. That's one part of it, if it's in a hurry. Now, if you have time, then you start developing continuous education programs, and then you start developing new careers, but in that specific time frame. So it really depends on the urgency of the industry. If you need it now, you have to reskill. If you can have a specific, smoother intro to that specific industry, then you have to allocate resources to have that specific school or technical system or university system prepared for that specific new industry or sector.
I totally agree with what Rudy mentioned. I mean, it's that alignment and thought and need with, the community colleges, your educational partners, and the industry as well. For the state of Arizona, the ACA developed something that's called the SciTech Institute, which focuses on expanding STEM education opportunities for Arizona students in pursuit of high-tech paths. Again, this is used to motivate students on other opportunities that are available throughout STEM. And this is directly tied with the CTED programs, which are the career, technical, and education programs that are available throughout the entire state. A stat that I'd like to mention, just from 2020 to 2021, there were around 155,000 students that were able to get the CTED certifications, which is an amazing number. It provides you with technical skills that allows you to go and get a good quality job right after high school. Before that, usually was not the case, but now it's an opportunity that's available for the public in the state of Arizona. As it relates to community colleges, there's been a program that's been developed that's called Arizona Advanced Technology Network. And this is essentially a conglomerate in between the community colleges throughout the entire state, which shares curriculum, but again, has gained the knowledge of industry and their needs to ensure that we can provide customized solutions for a lot of the advanced manufacturers that we continue to work with. We're happy to say is that the state has been very successful with those programs, but again, it's that open dialogue, that open communication in between industry and then our state stakeholders, specific to our educational partners as well.
And now for a final question, how can the mega region work together in order to tackle the semiconductor shortage and become the next semiconductor hub?
Well, I think it's becoming now. I mean, it's becoming now a huge semiconductor hub, and it's going to continue to grow. I think one of the main things that we must do is have a binational program that will address the different complements that each region has. So that's the first thing, that I would encourage to do, because we do have communication in different things, but most of them are water or binational infrastructure. This is more towards generating a binational industry hub, and I think we could add value added in each part. We're so close. I mean, Baja California and Arizona are next to each other. And I think that I would encourage that we start with a very comprehensive first two or three main goals. Don't try to do everything at the beginning. Just start by doing one or two things that are really high impact. And I think we could start with that.
No, I totally agree. I think this webinar itself is a great example of, that open conversation, those collaborative opportunities that we can continue to work with. I agree. We're definitely already a hub for the semiconductor industry and advanced manufacturing. That's been something that we've experienced more uniquely for the state of Arizona in the last decade. But now the goal is truly to become that global hub with all the efforts in nearshoring. That's the vision. That's the goal, is to be recognized a semiconductor global hub. We already have a robust ecosystem that's very well recognized throughout the entire nation. But now we want to be that key global player to ensure that, again, we can provide great solutions for these companies, but most importantly, bring quality jobs for all Arizonans and for all, the citizens of Baja California and the entire mega region as well.
And so we do have another question. This would be the last question from Alejandro Figueroa. What can local governments do, counties, cities, municipalities, to attract vendor suppliers to the bigger corporations coming to the largest, more urbanized areas of the state, Phoenix, Tijuana?
I can go ahead. So Alejandro, great to have your question. Always a pleasure to work with you and the entire Yuma team. I'm going to go back to the workforce initiatives, which, AWC, NAU, and the different university partners that are out there continue to do a great job with, the president, Ratika, and the different folks. I think that's continued to develop a great foundation in regards to the workforce needs that a lot of the entities in advanced manufacturing will continue to require. The other one I would continue to focus on is infrastructure. A lot of these projects continue to have higher and higher demands, whether it's just in general utilities, your water, natural gas, wastewater, power, certainly. But also their timelines are extremely expedited. A lot of the consultants that we work with, a lot of the companies that we work with, they will want to be operational in very, very quick timelines. So the better sites that we can present, the better customized solutions that we can present in regards to workforce and infrastructure, the better chances that we're going to have to be able to win these projects, and hopefully quite a few land in the Yuma County area as well.
Okay.
I agree totally with Fernando, and I think it takes each city to understand what they have as a strong point, and to be very realistic. I mean, I think it's very important because we obviously want to have the sexy industry in each city, because it has a name, but there's a lot of industry that it's not necessarily named Intel, but it's a big and very sophisticated company, or a small, very sophisticated engineering operation. So we need to see what we have as strong points regarding talent and infrastructure, and also logistics. The logistics is also important. So once we understand that as a city, talking as a city, then we can put that out and see, talking to the Fernando or to the different stakeholders, how we could attract that specific industry or that specific process that makes sense for the city that is involved.
Okay, thank you very much. And with that, we are finished with the Q&A session. Now, I would like to invite Nasser Mendez, the Executive Director of the Forefront ED, for some closing remarks.
Thank you, Anna. Thanks, everyone. On behalf of the Forefront ED Governing Group, I want to thank our panelists and our moderator. Thank you. Thank you so much, Fernando, Rudy, Anna. You proudly represent the U.S.-Mexico border region. Fernando and Rudy, you did a great job describing the semiconductor industry, which is essential, very important nowadays. And Anna, thank you so much for guiding this episode. We really appreciate your support. Thanks to the audience, people who connect from the Forefront ED National Mega Region and beyond. We have people from Washington, D.C., from Mexico City, from Los Angeles, Tijuana, Ensenada, Hermosillo, Nogales, Phoenix, of course, Tucson, and in that Arizona area. And we appreciate that. These episodes are planned to be the perfect platform for dialogue, like you did today. And thanks again. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Ana, Rudy, Nasser, un placer. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Nasser.
Gracias a todos.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.